Well, we're going to find out who all the good doobies are today.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, all things considered. I'm
All right.
safe and sound, and not in an ice storm. But I've seen the results of an ice storm. I got a tree down in my front yard.
Oh, I was going to say, I think actually it appears I literally just came in, start, and boom, up and running. The roads weren't bad at all.
No, the
Coming from
roads are great.
Rochester. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it just,
kudos to the county road commissions
that's,
in the tri-counties, Oakland, Wayne, Macomb.
yep, yep, absolutely. So we'll see what we do today. I got to tell you, I intentionally didn't send out any invite, any reminder, anything of the nature, because I'm trying to figure out, well, who actually keeps it in their calendar and has their own reminder. So as I put it, the good doobie. So Connor, are you with us where you're live and you can talk?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see what we have here today. It might be kind of brief, but at this point, Connor, you're the good doobie, well, so to speak, the good student.
Absolutely.
Let's see, scoring points. What else can we throw out there? So
Motivated, highly
there
motivated.
you go. There
Highly
you go.
motivated. I like that word.
Let me give, I gotta do something here. To call you back.
Connor, I don't believe I've met you before. What office are you?
We're here.
Port Huron? Okay. So you're on the water, so to speak.
Pretty much.
All right. All right. So Connor, it's all about you today then. And so tell me something good about the week.
Well,
Or actually, we've even had 2 weeks.
I had my first closing 2 weeks ago,
Good deal.
so that was awesome.
Excellent. What was your source on that one?
That was a floor call, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and then it was a in-house deal with one of Stacy's listings.
Great. Great.
So-
You mean floor calls still work?
They do.
Occasionally, hey, you'll live in poverty if that's what we live off of, but occasionally you can still pop one off. And I'll tell you the big one with that, Connor, and Adriana's joined us too. Remember, it's follow-up, 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 because we're not going to find many people who are ready to move now. Today, I'm going to buy something. What we're going to find are the people that are thinking about it. And, I always say that they start with the educational phase. They need to get educated on the market. What's available? What's it going to cost me? What can I do? What can't I do? So if we keep that in mind and we work the leads, and this I will tell the 2 of you as the mentees, if we keep it in mind that it's the leads, not the immediate buyer, not the immediate seller. No, don't take me wrong, I want those, but I'm going to make my money off of working leads until those leads become prospects or up to actual buyers and sellers. Work the leads, got to work the leads. So that's good stuff. Adriana, how about you? What's the good news for the last 2 weeks? It sounds like your mic is not cooperating with us. All right.
She's actually
Be right
muted now.
back.
She's Oh, that's Connor that's muted, and she's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
But
she did
anyway,
she
I
did
have,
a BRB for Be Right Back.
yeah, I have some good news that I'd like to share.
Yeah.
I had a listing that I put on the market and listed it, ended up doing both sides, the list side and the buy side. But the bonus to this story is that as a result, I picked up another lead. And you may say, well, Jerome, how did that happen? Well, I thought it was kind of interesting because the buyer that purchased the lead indicated, I've been dealing with agents before, and I like to buy on a regular basis. I'm an investor, and the agent that I've dealt with before, they lost credibility with me. So would you represent me?
Wow. So who knows how many more deals coming out of that?
Yeah, but that's the first time I ever had that happen.
I got to tell you, you know, I've had one that I'll call it a rescue. And it was a key, and I shared that a little bit about this individual during the last Hard Knocks class, but they made the mistake of doing a quick call on, and bottom line, they ran into, if you will, the literal used car salesman who got a real estate license. And
Familiar.
that's it. And the funny part is the reason that they wanted to drop the house that they were committed to was not as much as the house as it was the agent that they wrote the offer through. So if you can envision everything that we've ever talked about for a used car salesman, that's the way this guy was sounding. So whenever they had a concern, all he did was handle it. Meaning it was like, oh yeah, that's not a problem because. Well, yeah, you don't have to worry about that because. And there was never any, you know, what we refer to as the response pattern to show their, you know, real concern, to be able to find out the real concern. And it's through that I think, yep, you can make a lot of money just being a salesperson as we all think of it. But it's when we treat people with what I'll call the relationship-based selling, a consultative style, consult them, don't sell them, that will build our business much quicker, and we can be in this business for a long term without burning out because we'll have the repeat and the referral business. So that's a great story and a great example to that. I like that. Adriana, let's give you another test here. See how your microphone's working now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh,
Crystal
awesome.
clear.
Well, it's good to see you again, Darwin. This is the second time this week. I've had the pleasure. So my wins the last 2 weeks, I've been working with 2 buyers. One, we just finished inspection, just removed inspection contingencies yesterday, finally, after some repairs have been made. So moving that along, waiting for the appraisal to come back and hopefully closing on time in early March. So really excited about that. And then my second buyer that I've been working with, it's been a long road for them. They've put in like 5 offers so far and unsuccessfully. So we're working on seeing more homes tonight. I think we are at like, I don't know, 55 homes that we've seen in the last 2 months. So it's been a process for them, and hopefully we'll find something tonight that they will want to move forward on. I do have to say, though, there have been a few challenges with, I'm surprised, that's why I'm saying this, but a few challenges with listing agents that have really caught me by surprise.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
I think one is for my buyer that's moving forward, and to closing, hopefully, just the listing agent and not reading the purchase agreement, not following what the sellers signed in the purchase agreement, and completely disregarding that until you can, I've had to say multiple times, and I had to get very firm with, hey, the contract states the house is supposed to go into pending status and no more showings is supposed to happen. She refused to do that for 5 days and kept allowing showings, and then ended up having 2 additional backup offers after they had already accepted my client's offer.
Okay.
And, she kept trying to say, hey, we have other offers, and they're better offers. So, insinuating that the sellers might pull out. And I had to remind her multiple times, like, hey, your seller signed an agreement. It specifically states it needs to go into pending and no more showings on our contract, on our agreement.
Right.
And after 5 days, she finally changed it into in the system and stopped allowing showings. But it was surprising to me how many times I've had to mention it to get them to understand that it was a breach of the contract.
It's because there's a lot of people who, I'm going to double task here because someone else is trying to get in. But there's a lot of people who are ignorant and ignorant, and then, how do I put it? When you don't know what you don't know, you have a tendency to think that you know. Does that make sense?
It does. I think it was just
so they
lack
do
of
stupid
reading the
stuff.
contract, lack of reading what your client signed, and then not wanting to. And I understand on different company, different requirements. Her company doesn't do that, put it into pending status until after the inspection. But that's not what the agreement was that was signed by the seller. So
yep,
that's
exactly.
I think that's the point. It's like, I understand your company may want to do it this way, but that's not what has been signed, and we have to follow that. And then the second list, another one where my offer fell through over $500, which I had offered to take on. It's a VA loan. I offered to take on the $500 repair off the addendum, the VA addendum,
Yep.
right? Where sellers, it's requiring that sellers come up with that $500. The seller was refusing, and I offered to take it, but my buyers just left with a bad taste in their mouth because the other agent refused to go back to their sellers to ask if they would be willing. Okay, let me give you context. We put in an offer. They came back with an intent stating, hey, this is what we need in the offer. Then my buyers went through the list. There was 8 things on the list. They went and did all of the things that were required, and they decided to take on the pest inspection and take on any other reinspection fees, yada, yada. But the only little bit, so this is like one little thing from a list of 8 that they said, no, we want the sellers to take on the $500 repair, up to $500 repair, if needed, and then the buyers would take on the rest. The sellers refused to do that. The house has been vacant for a number of months. And so my buyers thought, well, if the sellers didn't want to show a sign of good faith that way, that they obviously know they didn't maintain the house and there's going to be repairs. And when I talked to the agent about it, she didn't want to go back to the sellers, specifically said, no, they're not going to agree to it. I'm not going to talk to them about it, period. And then I had to rescind the offer. And then she called me back the next day asking if they would be willing to come back with that offer. And I said, I'll check with my buyers, but I doubt it. And I checked with them. I did my due diligence. I checked with them and they said, absolutely not. They they wanted the house. They wanted the house, but they could get over the fact that they felt the seller just, even if I would have covered that $500, they just couldn't do it. So I was,
There's, I always say, you've got a buyer who wants to buy, a seller who wants to sell.
mhm,
We need to get out of the way and let it
mhm,
happen. And whatever it is, there are many agents who they feel they've got to prove their worth or believe that they have more power and control than what they actually have. So I can't say as I understand why they do that, why they will think that they can just say, no, I'm not going to do that. I think there's a power in negotiating, but we've always got to communicate
right.
with our sellers. And, I haven't looked verbatim, but here's what I do know regarding the laws that govern us. And in general, it says we must present all offers. Doesn't say anything about in writing. The last I knew, not in writing.
Mhm.
So an offer doesn't have to be in writing to be an offer. I mean, just picture this. Let's say Jerome calls me up and says, hey, Darwin, your house over there on Easy Street, would you see if your sellers would take 200? And it's $100,000 below what I'm asking. Can I not present that, or must I present that to the seller?
It's always been my impression that regardless of what it is, it must be presented.
Correct. Because, I mean, just picture this. The seller says, wait a minute, if they'd have found that out later, could you imagine if they say, good Lord, we would have taken that?
Mhm.
Because maybe in the end, what they got was 190. Because they were just asking too much, they got desperate, who knows? But I wanted to create that big picture because
Yeah.
it's within that we can see why a seller would want that information. And I can, there was a brief court case, this is way back in my Muskegon days, so we're talking 30 plus years ago. An agent received a call as he was going out the door to present an offer on his listing. And it was this: hey, schmuck, I want you to know that I'm writing an offer on your home over at. Now, that was the basic information he was provided. So he got a call going out to present an offer, saying that they were writing an offer on the home that he was going to present an offer on.
Mhm.
The seller accepted the offer that was written because Schmuck never told them about the phone conversation he had received walking out the door. And the seller found out by running into this particular individual who was going to write that offer. And if I remember the court case correctly, I believe, I don't, it seems like they had to rescind the deal that they had, which seemed far-fetched. But what I can tell you is he got in a boatload of trouble because he simply did not communicate information
Mhm.
that he had received.
And that's my understanding as well.
Let's see.
But that's my win and what's going on, and just trying to get more people into the pipeline. So that's what I'm working on moving forward too.
I like it. Good work.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, guys, what do we need to have some assistance on for this week?
Nothing for me.
Connor, you had anything where it was like, man, this was said, this happened, didn't know what to do, how to handle it?
Not anything in particular that I can think off the top of my head.
All right. So let me ask you this. You guys are still in, and I got to tell you, let me see if I've actually got them. How many of you have taken 1 week business plans and handed them into your manager?
I'd have to see what it looks. Is it the business plan for the year, or?
The one per week.
I'm not sure. I'd have to see the form.
Okay, let me pull one up here and show you what we've got. We'll talk about these anyway here. Let's see. It's under.
Is that the mentee form where we
Yeah.
list out like how many calls and how many this and that?
Hey, Mike, can I use?
Sir.
I wanna show yours if you don't mind.
Okay, I just had one in my hand. I was gonna show it too, but go for it.
Yeah, I got it right here. I'll just do a share. Let's see, come back here, share this. Okay, so here's one that Michael did with his manager.
Mhm.
And this is the one that we're looking for. What this will do when we really fully understand it, as you can see, we've got the plan and then we have what we actually did. So every week when I sit down with my manager, I give them 2. One that would look like this, and then the one for the next week, where it would only have the column under the plan filled. Then the next week, I bring them that one with the actual numbers, because here's what we do. So Mike really has a pretty good one here. So he planned to prospect 5 days. He hit that. He planned to put in at least 10 hours, and he knows that he got over 10 hours of prospecting. He has a great excuse because it was Super Bowl Sunday. I laughed when I saw those, by the way. Super Bowl didn't start until 6:30.
Well, I was out of town, and then when I got home, I was in time for the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. All
That's
right.
what the out of town.
I was giving you more of the break with the out of town, but I got to tell you, a lot of people were going Super Bowl. Can't do one on Super Bowl Sunday. Well, you could, but anyway, hey, it's not a problem because you weren't planning on it anyway. So, you know, that's the aspect of work your plan. Now, here's a key part, and this is what I refer as the anomaly, if you will. It's the sore thumb that's just sticking out and kind of obvious. So, Mike, if you got a calculator, I want you to do something for me. Divide 14 by 10. 1.1, right? So here's,
yeah, 0.1.
okay, well, let's I think it's, well, yeah, because what we're looking at is you got 14 contacts in 10 hours. So 14 divided by 10, you got about 1.5 calls, 1.5 conversations per hour.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, I'm going to say that again, because this was a consistent one. This is not picking on Mike and going, dude, what the hell? Now, I've had that conversation with people, but this is our first time looking at this. So this one in the past week, since I've started receiving these ones, has been fairly consistent. But I want you to think, you put 60 hours or 60 minutes into one of these two things, if not both of them. And in that time period, you were only able to talk to 1.4 persons. So how long does a conversation last? Let's use it as your sphere of influence. How might long a conversation with your sphere of influence take?
Well, currently I'm on mostly family right now, so yeah, it's
Good.
not always about real estate, but they're usually longer conversations because I definitely
Okay.
haven't spoke to
So
most
how
of them in a
long?
while.
How long do you think?
Probably 20 to 30 minutes I'm talking to each one.
Okay.
Again,
So,
not always about real estate, but
okay, we'll address that too, but for now, here's what I want you to look at. If it was 30 minutes each, that's still two people.
Okay.
If it were 20 minutes each, it's three people. Because it's your sphere of influence, it's people you know. These are people that are going to talk or pick up the phone, right?
yeah.
The reality is what we want to shoot for is about 5 or 6 per hour. Now, again, Mike's working on his sphere of influence right now, and especially if it's the first call to them, it's going to take longer. Okay. But that would be one of those things that, maybe I make that note of, but I want to be conscientious of. Right now, it's taking me 30 minutes. My guidance on that, Mike, coaching you would be try to narrow that down. Try to get it down to 15 minutes or less, even though it's your first time conversation. And I know that some are going to take longer because it might be a closer friend. Somebody you haven't talked to in a while that was a close friend. There's going to be those circumstances where it's just going to take longer. But make a note, your target is 5 conversations per hour. Okay. And as we get through them the first time, then we start making, you're probably 2 or 3 people in your sphere of influence each day as part of your plan. And that's going to be dependent upon how many people are in your sphere of influence. All right. But again, shoot for 5 conversations per hour of prospecting. Now, I'm glad that you brought it up, Mike, because I think this is another one that many agents are missing. And that is, I'm talking to my sphere of influence, and 100% of the conversation is non-real estate related. Now, you always are calling for 2 reasons. One reason, I want to catch up. You had notes from your last conversation, catch up on those conversations. Number 2 reason, talk real estate. How much time does it take to talk real estate? Well, it depends on what you're calling for. In case I had someone demonstrate in one of our classes, Stephanie Rosello. She called somebody and just, hey, calling a couple of reasons, wanted to chat, blah, 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 blah. Well, hey, the other reason I called is, you know a lot of people. This was her conversation. You know a lot of people, and I want to call and let you know, I have a buyer who's looking for blah, da, 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 da. Who can you think of that might be looking at selling that I might be able to put them in? And now that went nowhere at that point. 2 weeks later, that same person that Stephanie had talked to gave her a listing referral. 4 weeks later, she actually listed it. Now, did she sell that house to the buyer that she had called that sphere about? Nope. It was just a listing. But it was a great reason to call and remind them of what it is that we do. So what I want to throw out with that is always talk real estate. And it might be, you know, if you see somebody every week, it could be just simple, hey, don't forget, I sell real estate. Could be, hey, remember, I'm always asking, who do you know? But it's always a quick conversation. And how long did it take me to say, by the way, you haven't forgot I sold real estate, have you? So who do you know? Now that conversation could go for a while. They go, gee, I can't think of anybody right now. No problem. Well, you know, when you do, you call me first. Okay. So that's a great one in regards to your circle, your sphere of influence. Okay. Good stuff. So the reality to this then is that's really the only thing that caught me in looking at Michael's plan. The only thing I would have you go to, Mike, you had the generate 2 leads. This was the plan, the goal. Generate 2 buyer interviews and get 1 contract signed, which not bad. With previous work, with follow-ups and so on, these numbers are possible, right? Now, let's say Mike is a guy that he left his job, he's full-time, he's limited on the amount of funds he's got in the bank. He doesn't have anybody supporting him. And I don't know Mike's situation, but I'm just using Mike because of the business plan here. If Mike was in that situation, what above all else does Mike need? Okay, Mike, you go. If that were your situation, what do you need more than anything else?
Well, sellers and buyers, obviously.
Right? Matter of fact, if we walk it all the way to the very end, I need money. Therefore, I need closings. Therefore, I need buyers and sellers. And to get buyers and sellers, what do I gotta have? Right here, guys. I gotta have interviews.
Intro.
So here's the way I want you to take a look at this. If Mike's numbers don't change, and that were Mike's situation, what is going to happen to Mike's career?
Gonna
Mike's
try out.
gonna be homeless.
You got it. You got it. So as we work down this, we go, hey, good for you. Good for you. You even exceeded it. You know what, Mike? You met goal on conversations. Oh, when we get down here, right? Now, here's the thing. If we had real motivation, like if I came to you, Mike, we'll keep it clean for this one. Mike, you either get an appointment this week or you're fired and you can't work with us anymore. Matter of fact, let's say we had full and complete control. Mike, we're sending your license back to the Lara and you're out of the business. What would you do?
Scramble to get the appointment.
I'm gonna go get an appointment, right? I mean, let's keep this simple. Because all I said was go get an appointment. But would you not do that if it was that desperate?
Absolutely.
Right?
And we agree, Mike, we agree.
Yeah. I mean, all of us, that's what we would do. I've used other circumstances to really land the point, but I don't want to scare anybody. But we would go do that. So I guess the thought is, if we have continuous strings like this, what will we do? And remember, we're the chairman, CEO, we're the president of our business incorporated. It's ours. And so, you know, Mike, and because again, this is very common to what I've seen in the first couple of weeks of receiving these in this style. Mike, if you were president, CEO, and you were employing you, And share your goal, your financial goal. How much are you going to make in the next 12 months?
How much I wanted to make?
Nope. How much are you going to make?
Oh, 75,000.
Okay. So you've been on the job for 2 weeks, and I see 2 weeks of this type of report. How likely am I to keep you employed?
2 more weeks. I don't know.
Right? Exactly. You landed the point quite well, just saying that you've got 2 weeks, right? Because something will change. And what it is the external motivation, or the reality, the motivation is coming from an outside source. Well, the problem is,
Before you fire me, just so you know, I did send in a PA today.
okay.
I love it. I love it, Mike. That was a great recovery.
It's awesome.
It's like Darwin's saying, we're always on probation, right?
That's it. We're always unemployed. And the key part is, it's like, what's our plan and what do we hold ourselves accountable to? And what I would throw out is, let's say Mike's been sitting around and in the business now for, I don't know, 3 months. And Mike's always getting his prospect. Mike's always getting his hours. He hits the goal of his open houses. Every time that he plans one, he does it. He always hits his conversations, but he never has leads. Or let's say he has leads, but he never gets interviews. What would we do?
Take a look at the conversation that he's having with the leads.
That's it. Probably what I'd say is we're going to look at who he's talking to. And, a quick one is, Mike kind of brought up a common thing that would be, well, wait a minute. Well, why would you expect anybody to give you real estate business if you never talk real estate? Because he's having the conversations, but he isn't necessarily generating the leads or the number of leads that he should. But more importantly, he's not getting the interviews. Well, a quick one would be is we'd sit back with Mike and we go, okay, let's look at your conversations. How might you bring up real estate? What might you ask? How are you asking? We'd look toward that. Now, let's say Mike's doing a great job with all of that. He's actually generating leads, but he's not getting interviews. Then I'm going to look toward, well, how are you closing? How are you identifying? Are you even asking? And then if he's getting lots of interviews, but he's not getting contracts signed. Well, now we got to take a look at, again, closing. But what is his presentation when he goes and he meets with the buyer, he meets with the seller? What is he doing? How is he handling it? It's where these business plans become so important for you guys to be able to complete them and understand them, because this is where your managers can coach you. And by the way, we're still sharing these with our mentor also, because it's those individuals that can help identify. I don't know if everybody's really to where I've just described this to you, but that's how important these really are. While I've still got this up, does anybody have any questions about how or what might qualify for any of these things? So the quick would be this: conversations. You've had an engaging conversation, telephone, face-to-face, or using technology, and you spoke real estate. So, with what Mike said, a lot of his calls with the sphere of influence were not, or didn't talk real estate. And a lot of that's going to be because he's just catching up. But the one thing that we would do is, let's make sure that we always bring up the subject of real estate, make that the shortest part of it, and just say, hey, start your conversation with calling for a couple of reasons, but and go into whatever your conversation is going to be: family, occupation, recreation, and then the expectations of real estate. And take your notes so that you know what to have a conversation with them when you talk to them again in another 3 months, because what we know, every 4 months. So good stuff. But just remember, anybody that we've had an engaging conversation that involved real estate, that's a conversation. And oh, by the way, if you did that in a minute or less, that's a conversation. If you called a for sale by owner and they said, you people suck, and they hung up on you, that was a conversation. Brief as it was a conversation. Count it, because it's part of what we're going to run into. Okay. What else you guys got out there? What are you dealing with? What are issues that you're facing? What's keeping you back from realizing your goals?
Darwin, I have one. This is kind of a sidebar, but I just wanted to share because I think it's critically important, and it's something that's happened to me before. So I'm sharing it from a personal perspective. Many times when you talk to people about real estate after you've exchanged pleasantries and all of that, and then you get down to the question of who do you know? And the average person, when you ask the question, who do you know? They only think of locally. And the other thing that I'd like to share that we sometimes miss as agents, even experienced agents like myself, is that we can help people that want to buy outside of our area. And if we don't let them know that, they'll never know. So they may be thinking locally when they actually know somebody that wants to move to Florida, or they want to move to Arizona, or they're moving because of a job. That's a lead opportunity we might miss unless we've coached them in understanding that we can help them no matter where in the United States a person wants to move, and they're only thinking about locally. So I just thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah, and I'd even think, bring this one directly. You may know people that are in Florida or some other state, and they might move back to Michigan. Don't leave them off your list just because they're not local. Gotta call them every now and then and just say, hey, by the way, if they lived here and they moved away, do they know people that are here? So when we look at our sphere of influence, we don't want to exclude anyone. Those are important people. They can bring us referrals, both the referrals that we think about and refer directly to us, where we get to keep all of our commission without having to pay a referral fee. Good stuff. Great one. Anybody got anything else?
Unless you can, make the roads amazing. That was the only thing.
With it. Well, I can tell you, driving from Clarkson down to Rochester, once I got out of the subdivision, it was a winter Michigan road, and really most of it was clear.
Oh, good.
Without any issues at all. It was just wet. So we'll see what that means for the rest of the day and how long it takes when we get to all the side roads. But I think if you can get out of your house to a main road, know that you're going to be safe and sound. But as Alex and I said, don't use it as an excuse to take the day off. We still got to get out there and make our contacts. And remember that there's a lot of people that are at home because the schools were canceled. But a great day to go talk to people. So Mike, thanks for allowing us to use your business plan. And guys, make sure you turn those into your managers. Along with that, make sure that you've done the goal projector. That's going to help you with that business plan. And then, of course, obviously, make sure you've done your dream sheets. Share all of those with your manager and your mentor. In the meantime, go have a fantastic week, and we'll see you guys, I think, all you guys on Wednesday. Have a great one.
Is it weekly? I thought it was every other Wednesday.
Oh, no, for next Wednesday, we're back.
Hard knocks we're talking about.
Hard Knocks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I won't be there. So I'll see you
I will see
next
you
time we have the
somewhere
mentor call.
along there.
Yeah.
You got it. All right, guys.
Take care.
All right,
Have a great
thank
one.
you.